Hey everyone, Toy Habits back at you with a hot take and continuation of the Titans Return Fortress Maximus upgrade. We've completed the first DNA design DK-02 upgrade featuring the cannons, super articulated hands, and the Cerebros leg upgrade. And today this hot take stars the DNA Designs DK-04 upgrade featuring the foot base mode, landing pads, leg ratchet joints, and brand new crotch. And yes, you heard that right. Plus, you will be sporting a new booty after this is all said and done, but you will have to make it through this video to see for yourself. So let's get right to it. This upgrade comes with a lot of parts, so let's check out the individual pieces before we start the upgrade. First up is the foot part when he is in robot mode, and a landing pad when Fortress Maximus is in base mode. A couple of parts that attach to his foot and the landing pad are these two blue pieces that form his rather large toe. They are both exactly the same, so you don't have to keep track of which is which, but we'll just set them aside for later. Next up, you have his brand new G1 inspired crotch, and I never thought I would say that in my life, but moving on. As we remove the next layer of the onion, we have the anti-skid foot pads for his foot upgrades, and they are made of a nice squishy material that have adhesive on the back so you can put them on like a sticker. Here is the other foot. It was just packed separately from the other, and here are a bunch of parts that you might be thinking, what the heck are these? So we'll let you in on a little secret. These circular pieces here with the small teeth are the leg ratchet gears, and they fit together like so, and I am super excited for these as this part will allow Fortress Maximus's legs to have an insane range of motion. And next we have some pegs that are for Fort Max's landing pads so they can attach to his base mode. There are a couple of springs that you can choose to replace when you are putting in the ratchet gears, and finally we have the second set of ratchet joints because yes, he does come with two legs. There are a lot of parts here, but don't be overwhelmed. We will show you how to put them in due time, so without further ado, let's get this party started with the foot upgrades. You will want to start with the anti-skid pads, which look like a Velcro material, but they are not. They are made of a really soft material that have an adhesive strip on the back, and this immediately gave me flashbacks of applying stickers to toys when I was a kid, which I was horrible at. But just peel the adhesive off, and I am already having anxiety. The anti-skid pads go in these grooves of the same size, but I noticed that the length of these pads is a little longer than the grooves, so you can either trim it down or leave it alone. I chose to leave it alone. You will want to press down firmly here and make sure that they are on, so just go over them a few times, but as you can see here in the close-up, they just overflow that groove ever so slightly. You repeat this step for the other grooves by placing the final anti-skid pad on the landing pad piece and firmly press to attach like the others. And here is the final product. The anti-skid pads give this piece an entirely different look, and I like the raised nature of the pads as they give them a little more depth and dimension. Since Fort Max can't fit in my light box, I moved up to my operating room to complete the rest of the upgrades. The next thing you will want to do is familiarize yourself with the leg piece and grab one of those blue pieces too. There are a couple of hinged pieces that you will need to open up, and on this hinge piece here there is a little window, so you will want to open this up so it's facing out. Then you will want to close this back in and then take that blue toe piece and tab it into these slots here at the bottom. They go in very easily, and here is what the piece looks like assembled, so get a good look at what it's supposed to look like as this entire piece attaches to the bottom of Fort Max's foot. Speaking of which, this is the bottom of the stock foot on the figure, and you will notice some grooves here that you can mate the two pieces that you just put together, so let me grab that part now. I've reopened the hinge pieces with the little window, and if you flip it around, you will see two tabs that fit right into those slots at the bottom of the foot. So let's put it on. This is the part of the process that was not the easiest, and it does require some patience and force so that the tabs slot into those pesky grooves. Once they are lined up, just push them down and close the hinge pieces around the foot and you will see the magic happen, which is the bottom of Fort Max's new foot. Looking at it from a different angle, you can see how the side pieces fold around to complete the look, which is more like a shoe than a foot, come to think of it. You repeat the same process on the other foot and make sure the window is facing out, then attach the blue toe piece to the tabs. Open the hinge pieces up again, and then you will look for those slots at the bottom of Fort Max's foot and tab them right in and give them a firm push with all your might, then close up the new parts over his foot, and voila, you are finished with this step. Here is how the new feet look once Fort Max is standing up, and since the parts are on hinges, there is a lot of play in these upgrades, but that helps with the posability of his feet so he can stand at different angles. And here is what it looks like from the back, and you can see that his foot is resting at a different angle. Now we can start prepping the figure with the peg mounts so that we can attach the landing pads to Fort Max's base mode. The pegs come in two sizes, 5mm and 6mm sizes, so let me grab them so we can get a closer look at how they differentiate them from one another. 5mm pegs have a solid line running through the middle, while the 6mm pegs have a small circle that breaks up that line. We are going to start with the blue section here, and this step requires a 5mm peg and a 6mm peg. So let's start with the 6mm peg, as these pegs are very easy to slot in, as there is not much resistance, so you don't have to use a ton of force. The 5mm pegs, however, have a really tight fit, and you really have to push hard to force them in. We can take the landing pad, and in this configuration of Fort Max's base mode, we need to find the two holes on the bottom and then line them up with the pegs and just push them right in to secure them in place. Sounds easy enough, right? Securing these in place is a little tricky, and this step requires some patience and some trial and error to get them securely mounted. And after you've done that, then you take the blue toe piece and attach it to the back. You repeat the same process on the leg, and here is how the pads look in this version of Fort Max's base mode. And here is a shot of the completed look, and as we zoom out, I am really happy with the way this turned out, as it gives the base mode a more menacing look and it gives more runway space for the Autobots to land on it. For Fort Max's other base mode configuration, where Fort Max's legs stand straight up, this is a more compact version of the base, but in this version, the pegs slot into different holes on the underside of the landing pad, so let's take a closer look at them. So if you take the landing pad and turn it around, you can see an array of holes, and where the pegs seat in are the first hole from the right and the second hole from the left. The majority of the landing pad hangs off the back, and all you need to do is line up the holes and press them down, but it's a little tricky. I could not get the pegs to line up this way, so I tried a different way. I had to open this piece up, and I still had a little trouble, but have patience, my young Padawans. They will seat, but it just takes a little finagling and a little manipulating, as the holes are very hard to see, as you were pretty much doing this step mostly blind. And voila! The perseverance is paid off, and here's how he looks with both pads on in this version of his base mode, which really makes this mode look a lot beefier, and I like that you have another platform to put mini-bots on or battle masters. I'm saving the best for last here, and for this configuration you will need to turn Fort Max into his battle station mode, which is one of my favorite ways to display this figure. For his battle station mode, you will need two 5mm pegs that slot into this white and gray leg piece, and like I said before, these 5mm pegs are a very tight fit, so don't get discouraged. It takes a lot of force to get these to seat, and I could not even get them to seat all the way. To line up the landing pad, you need to look at the bottom again, and you want to align the pegs with this top hole here and the hole that is next to one of the slots down here. Again, aligning these platforms with the holes is a little tricky task, but I had to stoop down to a little bit below eye level so I could see the underside of the pad and the pegs to line them up. I still had a little trouble as these holes need to line up exactly, but after you seat them, you will feel like you've accomplished a lot. And here is the fruit of your labor, and like I said before, this is my favorite way to display Fortress Maximus, and the landing pads fill in the gaps with the stock mode, making this one continuous, pretty badass battle station. Alright, on to the Ratchet Gears. Get your screwdriver ready as we are swapping out the old leg ratchet gears for the new ones, and there are only 3 screws to worry about for this step, and they come out pretty easily. Once the screws are out, you can take the top piece off, which exposes the ratchet mechanism as well as the spring. The old ratchet gears are black and they have the spooge on them, which I'm assuming facilitates the leg movement. This piece looks markedly different than the new ratchet gears, which you can tell by the smaller number of teeth, which means less positions to move his entire leg. And here's a comparison of the new piece to the old piece, and in this view you can see that the new pieces are going to have so much more range of motion for Fort Max's legs, but we will have to wait and see once we get them on. Putting all of these pieces back together is one of the trickiest aspects to this upgrade, as you have to line up the new ratchet gear inside the leg piece while making sure the bottom piece lines up as well as fitting the leg piece back in that fits in between them. The leg piece fits in a groove at the bottom of the white piece, and once it's in place, you can put the top piece back on, and since these parts have a spring, you have to place a great deal of tension to push everything together, so make sure that you have your screwdriver within reach so you don't have to do this step again. With your handy dandy screwdriver, or screwdrivers in my case, screw the screws back in and we are ready for our comparison of the old ratchet gears and the new one. Let's first see the range of motion with the old ratchet gear, and as you can hear, there are only 3 clicks with the old part, so it did not have a ton of stopping points for Fort Max's legs. Now with the new gear, let's listen in. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. You repeat the process for the other leg as it's exactly the same. You have 3 screws to remove, and you can see the pieces already coming apart as you remove that final screw. Once the screws are out, you remove the old gear and you can put the spooge on the new gear if you like. Once everything is lined up, you screw it back together and you are finished with this part of the ratchet gear upgrade. The final step in this upgrade is replacing Fort Max's crotch, which will give him more of that G1 look and feel. Taking a closer look at the crotch piece, it has a pinkish red circular shape in the middle, and they really molded this part after the G1 Fortress Maximus. Swapping this part out requires a screwdriver, and there are 4 screws to remove. And once they are out, you can remove the old crotch piece, but hang on to it because you will need it, as his front crotch piece actually becomes Fort Max's booty, which I am happy with because I don't lose any of my parts that have the Toy Hack stickers on it. So just set this aside for now and you will find a red piece underneath, so just remove that, but pay attention to its orientation as you will need to put it back when you are ready to reassemble everything. You can discard Fort Max's old booty, but I am just showing the orientation of that red piece. Taking a look at both crotch pieces, the paint colors don't match up very well, as the old crotch piece is a little darker than the new one, but it really doesn't matter as this figure is so huge you will not see both parts together. There's not much to this step as it involves placing the new crotch in the front and it just slides right on, but what you will need to do to complete this step is flip the entire figure over so you can access the screws in the back. Now, the new crotch piece should stay put, which makes this process a lot easier, but just double check that it's still in place. You can then take Fort Max's new booty and place it on, and I've already placed that red piece inside, but be careful as it might pop out, and if it does, you might have to remove that piece and just place it back in so you can get to screwing, but make sure that everything is firmly in place. And all you need to do is screw the 4 screws back in and you are finished with this upgrade. Fort Max is very proud of his new crotch as he was missing the good old G1 days, so happy days are here again. Although you do have one problem, as you can't tell whether he is coming or going. Now that all the pieces are on from this upgrade and the previous upgrade, we can now gaze upon Fortress Maximus in all his glory with his new feet that look like he's wearing boots, up to his brand new Ratchet Gears that are under the hood, and his brand spanking new G1 crotch. Fort Max is very happy with this new look, and he gives this upgrade a thumbs up. And I hope you do too, so thanks for tuning in, and let us know what you think about this upgrade in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.